managed to get. So we hand over to you, my dear Lama. Everybody is going to just listen, and they want to hear what you've got to say about Rob, maybe even one or two words about death.
It's evening over there. It's 1 hour later than now.
So, good evening, everybody. And I am very happy to see most of you there. About Rob, he was the first person to find a founder of Tibetan Buddhism in South Africa, that area. So he have done a great job. And of course, I know him so many years. And my brother and Rob, they are one of the very closest friends. They know each other very well. So I think if one person can do so much job like Rob, I think it's a perfect. As far as others are concerned, we should really follow his footpath. He gave his whole life to them, going around teaching. He is the founder of mindfulness course. Without Rob, there will not be mindfulness because he has to program, make everything acceptable for university level. And then he has been going around the world teaching, propagating Buddha's teaching. So he has done more than anybody can ever do. And we are very sorry he passed away, but you can't remain here forever. Even Buddha has passed away. So it was his time to leave this world, but of course we should all be so grateful to his sister Margaret. She really gave him the best looking after, comfortable. I mean, the standard he was looked after is higher than anywhere in the United Kingdom. He has all these people 24 hours looking after him. I think in many ways, he was also fortunate. He didn't have much complaint to do about his pain. He just went along with what was wrong with him. But I think he never bothered anybody. So I think we should remember his legacy and we make sure we do not easily give up our Dhamma centers in South Africa or Zimbabwe or wherever it is, because Dharma is the only thing which can help human beings. It nourishes. When if something like this happens, how to cope, what to do. So I wish all of you very best, and there isn't much I can say about this. And I'll be back in Johannesburg on the November the 22nd.
Yay.
So I'll spend more time there. I'm coming there for 6 months, and I can see already building foundation have been going steadily. And once the building foundation is done, almost half the job is finished. Then just going up a wall. So we will have best temple. Who knows? One of my coming day late years, we can celebrate the days. Maybe we can have all celebration gathering there, and then people can really rejoice the vision, the money I spend there, or Roberta's money. I'm spending fortune there, so it's because I didn't come there to pick up money. I come there to invest money because I'm quite sure within this year, come upon my announce my brother's reincarnate. So if he come back to this world, he need his homes everywhere where he can go on and teach and help other students. So I think these are my hopes and inspiration. And then I don't have anything else to say. Then I wish all of you and keep well and be happy with your mind.
And just tell us one or two words about the death, because we've all been talking about Rob passing into the bardos. He knows all the teaching. He's written about the teaching. He understands the teaching, but you've still got to awaken to your true nature, to be able to really benefit so much for the bardos. So what do you think is the best that we should be praying for Rob? Just the light and the...
I think we should always say we join with your journey to fulfillment, praying for that. So then the more people focus, then it becomes a journey, becomes easier for him. So saying you have been teaching, you have been practicing, and all of us as your friend, your students, we will all join with him. So here I am also lighting 1,000 lights in some healing. So,
oh, really? 1,000 lights? It's amazing. Because when you look at all the centers are holding vigils for him, it's such an honor. It's absolutely wonderful that people are doing all that. He's got to go with all this energy. He'll have to just be in the light very, very quickly, I think.
I think we as a Buddhist, we know what is best for him. So first thing is make a light.
Yeah, no, we're all lighting candles. I've got candles over here. And what we're going to do for him now is, everybody, we're going to do the clearing of all obstacles, a quick prayer by Guru Rinpoche, and just let me do that. Go to the gallery. We're going to do a quick prayer of the clearing of the obstacles for Rob, and then we'll go straight onto a short Chenrezi, and it'll be wonderful if you can stay just for, it won't be very, very long, Lame Yeshe. If you could stay, that'll be absolutely wonderful. Okay. Anyone want to say anything or comment?
I will say a few words, but I don't think I want to stay with all of you now.
You don't want to stay with us? Well, we'd love to have you.
Melanie, you are very good in pulling me, but I think you have done enough of that. So
I always do, Lama, because I'm doing it for all of them, because they all just so excited to see you, and don't think I can attract all these people to my talks. I can't. But as soon as they hear LYR is coming, they all come, and they're all in here tonight to see you. So it's a great attraction for Randburg, for all the Sami Zongs to really have you. And I know I've been doing this for years.
They're feeling for Rob Nairn, not me. So,
But what we know is that your beautiful light from all your meditations will help him so much, as well as our prayers. So I think that we will really do prayers with dedication tonight and send Rob on his way. And if our prayers are in Randburg don't send him on his way, then I don't know what else to say, because we do them with a lot of vim, music, and all kinds of things. So I hope we can really send him beautifully on his way. So maybe you could just stay for the obstacles. That'll take 5 minutes, Lama. All right. Instead of running.
5 minutes, then. Okay, you start whatever you.
5 minutes to stay, so we can all cast our eyes on your beautiful face. And that's it. Okay, Sophie, will you put on the things and let's really dedicate all of this to Rob's going into the beautiful bardos, just a lovely picture of all of them for all of you to see before we begin. Such beautiful picture. He always had such a beautiful smile, and the lamas really depended on him for Africa to bring all the Dharma. And he sure did that. I mean, he was amazing. And his
Yeah.
relationship with Ekon Rinpoche was amazing. You know, the two of them, they were both no-nonsense people. So I think these are beautiful pictures. Thank you for putting them together, Fee. And let's start with clearing the obstacles of Guru Rinpoche, everybody.
No, you start.
Okay. Let's just mute. Mute all. Right. Son Sanje Guru Rinpoche, Mentu I check on so what gives you changing love to soul? Chi nan sang re pai chen shi wa dan sang pai chen tu pai chen chen lo yu song sang je gu yu po shen non tu en Bao che kun se du du kun se so what gives you changing love to soul? Chi na sang we bao che shi wa dan sang chi tru ban chi chi lo song sang je bu ren bo shen non tu den shen sha ba che kun se du tu zhen hong sang so it's changing love to soul. China sa me ban chen shi wang sang chen chun ban chen chen long. Let's go.
I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and I was very happy to able to participate that, and I hope Marani will be happy with that.
I'm very happy. Just to set my eyes on your face makes me happy. Thank you so, so much for coming. And we're going to do Chenrezi for Rob. And he's got to soar with all of us. That's all. And thank you very much for your time, Lame Yeshe Rinpoche.
Right. Everybody, keep it well.
Thank you so, so much. Thank you. Sawi Lama Rinpoche Dagi Chiwo Pede De Shula Kadrin Jempo Gone Zezunte Kusum Tuche Lodrup Saudi So Yojin Kam Sam Pema Kesa Dumbola Yam Sen Chogi Lodrup Pema Jumi Shesida Kodu Kamyo Maboko Jeji Jesu Dadruchi Chinji Lapture Sesu So Guru Pema Siddhi Ho Jin Yojin Nutam Sam Pema Gesa Dumbola Yam Sen Chogi Lodrup Pema Jumi Shesudra Kodu Kandro Mamboko Jechi Jesu Dadruchi Chinji Lapture Sesu So Guru Pema Siddhi Ho Om Nutam Sam Pema Gesa Dumbola Yam Sen Chogi Nodrup Pema June Shesudra Kodu Kandro Mamboko Jechi Jesu Dadruchi Chinji Lapture Sesu So Guru Pema Siddhi Ho Om Hum Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Ho Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Ho Kewadi Nududa Ojin Pema Drupjone Roa Chichang Maluka De Sana Go Parsho Sanje Chodang Zochi Choknam La Chanchu Padudani Chaksunchi Dagi Konge Jipe Sonam Jivi Tola Pensher Sanje Tuparsho Sanje Chodan Zochi Chokram La Chanchu Padudani Chaksunchi Dagi Konge Jipe Sonam Ji Tola Pincher Sanje Druparsho Sanje Chodam Zochi Choknam Lama Chanchu Padudani Chaksunchi Dagi Konge Jipe Sonam Ji Tola Pincher Sanje Druparsho Soka Chap Sen Benji Chitso as enemies. Semjen gamje dewa tang dewe ju tang den pa ju tik, dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa ju tik, dungal mepe dewa tampa tang minrawa ju tik, nering chak tang ni tang trawe tang nong chempo la ne pa ju chik. Okay, so tonight we are doing revealing life as an experience, not an identity. And I think this is a very, very important subject because I think it's our identity. I'll even take some of Rob's life as a good example and some of my own life as a good example. But an experience has the potential for spaciousness. It can be absolutely spacious. It can have every possibility. It can work out in many different ways. It just depends on your view of it. An identity is a much more closed, solid, constructed, labeled idea of who we are and what the world is that we live in. And we chase after identities. Why? Why do we chase after identity? Number one, because no matter how much learning we do in Buddhism, we always looking for something permanent. We always looking for something permanent. So we keep on grasping onto absolutely everything. Secondly, because ego seeks comfort, and an identity seems more comfortable, more predictable. Okay. And thirdly, because we feel insecure. That's all I hear from morning till night. How many people feel insecure, even when they're on a deep Buddhist path? The more insecure we are, the more we construct identities for absolutely everything. And with this teaching, and you can butt in at any time, please do, because I love it when you do, because it must be much more of a discussion. With this teaching, like yesterday, I was teaching about the copper-colored mountain and how to get there, and everybody was stum. They all just sat and nobody said a word. And I really understand it's a difficult subject to master, but the thing is, this is a subject that we're using every single day. And with this teaching, we're going to create a total panoramic vision, spaciousness, openness, awareness. Our Buddha awakened mind is definitely not constructed or made. It just hangs easy. And in the teachings, it is called identitylessness, not identityless, because identityless gives us a real problem. Dajjal Rinpoche talks all the time about identitylessness. And what does it mean, identitylessness? It means that without a fixed identity, you're not in a fixed identity yet. The potential for thousands and thousands of forms without being tied to any one particular one, it's not caught up in anything. So identitylessness, the ness part, identityless is somebody running around like a chicken without a head. They don't know what they're doing. But identitylessness means you're not attached to any particular identity of the temporary dramas that are going on in your life. And what it really means is we're not in any way attached to that. The ness part is the empty part, and the emptiness, identitylessness, the ness is the empty part. I once heard Minja Dorje talking on the ness of the emptiness. The ness equals full of possibility. But the trouble is, none of us have got the confidence to know that we are different things all the time. And I remember, I'm going to give you quite a lot of James Lowe on this. And James Lowe is an amazing Buddhist teacher. He's a Dzogchen teacher. And he is also a psychologist. So he really understands things in a beautiful way. And he says that how many identities we have in a day, especially if you're a woman. I'm always saying to my husband, why can't you multitask? He said he does one thing at a time. Most men do one thing at a time, and most women do 20 things at the same time. Some men also do. But when you are doing them, how do you switch? How are you a mother that goes to work and has a relationship with the boss, and you really need to have a particular identity over there, and then you come home, before you even get in the door, the child is saying, play with me, give me this, do this. We've got to switch roles quickly. And then as soon as we've switched roles, our husband or partner might say, I want to have sex tonight. And then we've got to be available. Meanwhile, our identity is still in the office. We've hardly put the children to bed. We have to multi-identities all the time. And the whole thing that Guru Rinpoche demonstrates, because Guru Rinpoche demonstrates that he's got 1,000 identities, millions of identities. You might even see him in the street when you're walking and you won't even know that it's him. He's got millions of identities, but he takes the core of himself, of the three kayas, and that's who he is. So he can keep that core, even though he can go into all the different identities. Now that is what we're going to learn about tonight, because when we can evolve from the tight identities that we all fixate on into real experiential freedom. And I want to start with two stories, but first I'd like to say that Rob's story would be very relevant here. Because if you look at Rob, and I was listening to them talking about him at Kensington, it's very interesting because he did a law degree. He then became a magistrate. I'm not sure in what order, but he then became a magistrate, and he had to leave Rhodesia, and he left Rhodesia. And I think he went and studied in Scotland. And then in Scotland, when he studied, he suddenly met Akon Rinpoche, and his whole life changed and became a completely different identity. Although you could see the lawyer operating through him a lot. But just think about that. The different roles that Akon Rinpoche asked him to play, but they all had the central core of the Buddha nature. And the problem with us is we don't know how to be stable in the central core of our identities. And that's why it's so important, because it's what we were is absolutely nothing. What we leave behind in terms of our deeds, in terms of, for instance, the legacy that he left, is absolutely amazing. And we really, really, really need to understand that. It's our deeds, it's what we leave. So my mind was cast back to a girl that I met in the supermarket a little while ago, and she came charging up to me, and she said to me, Melanie, I've been wanting to phone you. I've got to tell you what happened to me. I said, what? I hadn't seen her for years. She said, we were in our house, there was an electrical cable fault, and she said the whole house went up in flame. And she said, my husband said, grab the ID documents, grab the passports, grab a few things. She said, we grabbed a couple of things and ran outside. And she said, the whole house went up in flame. And her husband was absolutely beside himself, calling the fire department, whatever else he was doing. And she said, I'd come to groups of yours for a long time. And she said, even though there was a terrible sense of dread in me as everything burned down and all our possessions burned down, she said, I can't explain it to you. She said, that's why I wanted to phone you. I had a strange calm within my own self as I watched all my possessions burning down. She said, And everybody thinks I'm crazy. Do you? I said, not at all. Because sometimes when you look at what we store, at what we hold, and we think of Patra Rinpoche with his little knapsack over his a little stick with a little thing underneath, and that's all his possessions. It's a very strange thing, because with what do we identify? And I'm going to give you James Lowe's real understanding and real Buddhist teaching on this, because it's a very, very, very interesting subject. So before I tell you my next example, which is my own, does anybody want to say anything? Because these are things, Janet, I'm so happy to see you too. These are things that really, really affect our daily lives. It's kind of the question of, how do I take my Buddhism and put it into my daily life? I've got so many demands in my daily life. And how do I put it into my daily life without just doing practice and then going off and leaving it behind? How do I incorporate it? And this is what James Lowe teaches about tantric practice, that the tantric practice, which is really, really important, he calls it, he says, the tantric practice, I'm just going to give you this, is, the tantric practice, he says, comes from a word, ecstasy. And the word ecstasy comes from the Latin word ecstasis. And the Latin word ecstasis means stepping out of yourself. Okay, that's what he says all tantric practice is, a stepping out of yourself. Not who you think you are, or who you think you are is full of assumptions, karma, habitual tendencies, nothing else. But the deity's identity comes from the Buddha nature. And when we can identify with that deity for a short period of time, we identify it, and then it dissolves back into emptiness. And he says, so Tantra, he says, is moving out of your ordinary identity of self. Tantra is a theater, he calls it. I love it. He says, our drama of being Melanie is disturbed by the entering the drama of being Tara, or the drama of being Chenrezi, or the drama of being, or the drama of being Guru Rinpoche. Yes, it is a drama, because there's no static identity with it. But that ecstasis, stepping out of yourself, is maybe one of the most important motives in all our Vajrayana practice. And we don't know it. We really don't know it. We actually don't understand it. So it's really an important thing. So I wanted tonight, let me just first throw it open in case anybody wants to ask or say. Anybody?
Yes, of course. Me, of
Oh,
course.
I'm so glad you begged.
I love the idea of identitylessness, and I also at the same time love the concept of having a sort of a spiritual gymnastics and developing your core muscles. But my question is identitylessness fundamentally different from no ego?
Is it different? It is no ego, identitylessness. I don't think it's really different, but the minute you use the word ego, you're already involved in something. The minute you use the word, I mean, if you see these teachings on identitylessness that Dajjom Rinpoche gives, they are exquisite, but it's so difficult for our egos. It's so difficult for our egos. What happens if somebody meets you? If you meet somebody, somebody for the first time, they go, oh, hello, Melanie. And where do you work? And where do you live? And can you tell me something about
What did your
yourself?
father do?
What did your dad do? What do you do? You know, how much money have you got? People might ask. Do you watch the news? We get an assumption. We hear these answers and we get an assumption about that person. And that is the ego identity, the ego self, you could say. But what's interesting with the lamas is that the gurus don't ask about your life. Have you ever known a guru, except if maybe you're going through a trouble or a trauma or something, they may ask you a few questions about your family, but they don't care about your life. They don't care if you're wealthy or you poor, or you've got this identity or that. The lamas look straight at you and say things. They don't waffle around words. They say exactly what they want. Like you heard Lame Yeshe tonight, he said, "Yo, you always try to keep me, you always try to keep me." Of course I try to keep him for the longest time that I can, mainly for all of you, because all of you came really to watch him. But they don't ask the everyday questions. When you go into Taisitu Rinpoche, when I went on long retreat, he only asked me questions relevant to whatever I was doing in the practice or anything. He never asked, "So tell me about your husband. So tell me about your children. So tell me about your circumstance." They don't care, because not they don't care about you, but they know that all those situations are temporary, transient. They're going to change in a minute, in an instant. Tomorrow morning, your whole life could be different. And so egolessness might be a better word than ego, comparing it to identitylessness. But identitylessness is such a beautiful word, because when you are identityless, you think, "I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to behave." But identitylessness means you can flow into the experience of whatever it is in that situation. And anybody else want to say, that's such a good point. Anybody else want to comment or ask? Okay, I want to tell you the experience that I had last week, because it's a very fresh experience, and I think it's really, really relevant, very relevant to what we're talking about. I'm busy cleaning out my house, cleaning out my talks, cleaning out my study, cleaning out everything, because we want to move from this house. It's about time. We've been in the house a long time. So in my one cupboard, there was this big green box, this size, okay. And I knew in it were letters and all kinds of things from all kinds of people, which had been there for yonks. Every time I got a letter that touched the core of my heart, I put it into there. So I was kind of half dreading opening the box and starting to read all these things. So it took me 2 nights to read these piles and piles of letters that were in there. Every time I got anything I'd kept, I really had a profound experience. And I want to explain this experience, not because I want to explain my life, but because I really, really think that this is most relevant to it, okay? Now, in the days when you got letters with stamps on, very, very rarely today to get a letter with a stamp on. But I even had letters with stamps from all over the world, and from individuals and organizations, and Jewish organizations and professional organizations and hospice and compassionate friends and individuals that I'd helped over the years. And there were so many experiences in these letters, because I listened very carefully to what people were saying. And it's the most interesting thing, because what people were saying to me in these letters was, "Thank you for making me see the world in a different way." even for the talks that I'd given, and people wrote back to me, that was what was very, very clear to me. And instead of feeling a sense of achievement or pride, it was the opposite. Having all these dozens and dozens and dozens of letters made me have a sense of total humility and total gratitude. And what I started to ponder was how I found myself in all these different situations over the years without really knowing how I got there, because of course a lot of these were before I even was on a spiritual path of any nature. Like I remembered this group of pastors, that I sat with a group of pastors and ministers teaching them mystical Christianity, about which I know zero, okay? But there I was, and there I was, and there was the letter. You lifted the lid off for me. Don't even ask me what I said. I couldn't even tell you. Or going to the Union of Jewish Women, I used to do all these series of talks, and I used to hide the spirituality in them. So sometimes people would come up to me and say, do you? And I'd go, yes, do you? Because it was all hidden, because I couldn't do anything, that was against anything they were. And there was a common denominator for me, which made me a very good example of what I'm talking about in getting the identity of the Buddha nature, because I understood from all these letters that my role, whatever I was doing, whichever spiritual path, my role was to lift the lid off and take people from their inbox to out-of-box thinking. It was so clear from looking at all these letters, and I remembered lots of negative experiences when I looked at the letters. I remembered once doing a woman's breakfast at a very fancy place, and they asked me to talk on love, and I had poetry, and suddenly in the middle of the talk, I realized nobody understood the poetry. Nobody actually understood what I was saying. But now, if that happened to me now, I would just take the poetry, drop it, and just talk from my heart. But in those days, it was in the early part of my career, it all had to be exactly as the identity puts us. So I really wasn't able to do it. I also remembered from all these things where the woman wrote to me that I once did a talk at the Union of Jewish Women, and there were about 100 people at the talk, and one person came up and started attacking me in the middle of the talk. And then what happened was all the people started fighting with each other. They were all, some were defending me, some were doing this. And I looked at this and I thought, I don't believe that this is happening to me. How did I get here? How did I get in this situation? It was a most interesting. And as I looked through this, I realized there really wasn't an I. There wasn't a Melanie, although I sometimes thought there was. And doing all of this, there was actually no identity. Just different experiences of this person in a physical body trying to do what seemed to be right to me or through me, to lift the lid. But many times through this, the I in me would feel good about my task, or the I in me would feel terrible about what I had done, disappointed in myself. And now I know that that identity stuff was really a waste of my precious energy. And any of you that are stuck becoming things that you think other people really need you to be for the sake of whatever, stop. If this experience that I had, which was really such a profound experience, almost like coming into the bardos and seeing the whole period of my whole life and what I'd actually done in it. And Bernice, when I told her about this, who'd worked with me, she said, and you did very strange things. She said you'd be doing dream groups, and then one day you'd come and say, That's it. I'm not doing this anymore. Or inner childhood. And when I look back, it was because something higher than me was guiding me to particular levels, or something higher than me within me was guiding me to particular levels. And only recently have I realized that this was the mandala of Guru Rinpoche, that it took me a long time. The particular identity we have at different times for different circumstances is only the temporary drama role we have to play in order to accomplish the different experiences, which are really just the playing out of our essence in many, many varieties. But always the stability of our essence should be in our awareness, no matter what we're doing, no matter what work we're doing, no matter where we are, no matter anything. And this was what the green box showed me. There was a kind of a theme in all my different roles, and only now can I understand that that was the Buddha nature in me, just being placed in places, being everywhere. And these identities, as you go along in your temporary dramas, these identities will become more and more like your essence if you're in touch with your essence. If you're doing your practice really with heart and really with heart, if you're doing your practice with heart, then the identity of whatever deity we are doing really starts to change us. And then when death comes, there's no sweat. Because what I notice with people over all the years when they've come to me, when they've got cancers or they're dying and everything, if I start teaching them about death and dying, they go, don't, I'm not coming back. Because they think if you talk about it, then you're going to die. And I kind of want to say, what are you holding on to? What are you grasping onto? Because when we come to death, the roles with the human consciousness dissolve. And here we are, naked in our exquisite essence, which is emptiness, full of possibility, and identityless, full of possible expressions of the essence. The essence and its expression. And when we come to death's door and all of this dissolves, only what we've done remains with us. And like the masters, their legacy will remain. Most of us won't even leave anything behind, and it just dwindles into emptiness over a period of time. So it's really important, and I hope that my experience could give you that feeling of, when you come back to an incarnation where you really, really, and lots of you here, even the ones that have just come in for tonight, lots of you have got a complete dedication to the Dharma, to what you understand. Even if you mess around and you don't do practice, you've got a complete understanding of what you're doing there. And it's so, so important for you all to understand that many of us belong to that mandala of Guru Rinpoche. And if you relate to it, and if you really feel it in your heart, then whatever you need will appear. I cannot express it in any other way. Whatever you need for doing the real role of your life will be there, even if it's got to be at work or whatever the case is. You might be doing a job of work. There might be one person in your organization with whom you've got a tremendous karma, and that might be why you're in that business or why you're in that thing. And you don't even get it. You don't even see it. You're so busy with the job. You're so busy with your identity. You can't even see that you're in that situation for this particular reason. And I've now disposed of 90% of the letters. My lesson's been learned. But it was an amazing experience for me. It really was. it was like I wasn't there anymore. And I could have cried just seeing all of this and just reading it. It's sort of an experience lots of people don't get in their lifetimes. So I brought a very funny little story, and then I'm opening it out for questions before we go on to the deeper teachings that James Lowe gives. I got this once from a professional organization, and I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Now I'll try and tell the story without laughing. It goes like this. I'll try and be serious. Ever since I was a little kid, I didn't want to be me. I wanted to be like Billy Whittleton. And Billy Whittleton didn't even like me. I walked like he walked. I talked like he talked. And I signed up for the high school he signed up for, which is why Billy Whittleton changed, because he began to hang around Herbie van der Man. He walked like Herbie van der Man. He talked like Herbie van der Man. He mixed me up. I began to walk and talk like Billy Whittleton, who was walking and talking like Herbie van der Man. And then it dawned on me that Herbie van der Man walked and talked like Joey Haviland. And Joey Haviland walked and talked like Corky Sabinson. I love the names. So here I am, walking and talking like Billy Whittleton's imitation of Herbie van der Man's version of Joey Haviland, trying to walk and talk like Corky Sabinson. And who do you think Corky Sabinson is always walking and talking like? Of all people, Dopey Wellington, the little pest who walks and talks like me. So, when I saw that, I just thought, this is it. Okay, it came on a professional letter. I thought, that's it. We are so busy in these phony little roles. We are so busy being like we think how this person wants us to be, or how the boss, what would be the best in our work, or what would be the right thing to do, or how should I be in this particular thing. We are so busy doing that, we can't even see the truth. Now you're all scaffing me and looking at me, so maybe somebody wants to say something and we'll do a little meditation. Anybody?
Hi, Mel.
Oh,
So, sorry, I hope it's not crackling too much.
everybody where you are, because you're in such a wonderful place. Please tell them and how you got there, because that's your new role.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So I'm Rugare, you can call me Ru, and I moved to Sweden, about 2 months ago now. So I'm studying in this beautiful university. It's called Lund University. If you've heard anything about the Nobel Prize right now, one of our professors has been nominated for it. So that's, if it gives you a reference point for where I am, that's it. And yeah,
When
it's...
this girl got a bursary to go to the university, she was chosen. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mel. So yes, I got a Swedish Institute scholarship. They're quite difficult and competitive, but yeah, here I am. And it's pretty much been the wildest ride of my life. And funny enough, as I saw the title of this talk tonight, I said I absolutely have to, whatever happens, I have to come join, because so I talked to Donal, I do like some of his classes and that. And I was asking, like, who am I now and what does this mean? Because all my reference points are gone, absolutely gone. And he hasn't necessarily responded, but I think that's a beautiful thing, because just flowing and searching and being curious to really get to the heart of this brought me back to this Sangha and has brought me back to this teaching tonight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to where the journey leads, whatever it is. Not so much about the outcome, but just, to be on it.
Amazing. And the thing that you've got to remember, Rugari, is that you have a great devotion to the Dharma, okay? And I know that the demands on you are going to be extremely great while you're there and everything. But you must not forget that that nature of yours, that identity, listeners, can blend in with whatever it is that has to happen. It's really okay to blend in with everything that there is. So I think it's really important. And I think that you realize that a lot of your identities when you were at home, when you were in Zim, are very, very temporary. It's temporary. It's like that's all gone. You're now in another place, and it's like a whole new role. And don't get caught in the role. Get caught in who you really are, so that whatever you're doing, that spontaneous expression of the essence can come out in you. That for me is the most important thing in your whole thing now. But that's beautiful, and we all wish you so well and such wonderful journey that you're going on. It's an amazing opportunity. And Rugari's got a little baby that she's left in Zimbabwe, and then she's going to come and fetch the papala and bring him there, and good luck when you've got him. all your identity is going to change at that moment in time, Anyone else? It's beautiful. Anyone want to say anything?
Hi, Mel.
Hi, Bobby, you back
Hello.
now.
Oh, thank goodness for that. So, I noticed what Lame Yeshe Rinpoche was saying tonight about be happy. What did he say? Be happy with your mind.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
What does he mean, be happy with your mind?
Well, what occurred to me then is that it's the choice once again, that life and relative stuff is happening around us all the time. And sometimes it's like a storm, and sometimes it's not as rough as a storm. But we have to choose to keep connecting to our Rikpa, to our real nature of mind, and not get constantly, spun out or dragged into, or, everybody else's storm, but kind of stay in the center and choose happiness.
Yeah, and if you stay in the center, then even when you're going through difficult times, it's still in the center. It's still absolutely there. So that's your important thing. You see, that's what we learn. And James Lowe, his book is Being Guru Rinpoche, not, sort of say, doing your practice of Guru Rinpoche, calling Guru Rinpoche. It's being Guru Rinpoche. Being Guru Rinpoche means that whatever Guru Rinpoche does is exactly what we do, because Guru Rinpoche demonstrates the three kayas, the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. And he does a lot of the work that reaches us on the Nirmanakaya. So when we are Guru Rinpoche, we put this on at the beginning, but anyway, it was a bit crazy today. But what he's showing us is that the Dharmakaya, the essence, is absolutely always there. The Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya come out of the Dharmakaya for the benefit of beings. The Sambhogakaya at another level, a level that most of us can't reach, but it's there nevertheless for those that can reach it, for those that can see the pure expression from the essence. And lots of us can't. And then the Nirmanakaya is the path that goes out in every conceivable way. It can become a bridge for people. It can become a sandwich for a hungry person. It can become a teacher. It can become a taker off of a lid. It can become whatever is necessary, because the essence is identityless and emptiness, and out of it, all the possibilities are there. Now, if we look at our lives like that, being Guru Rinpoche is knowing that that essence, that Buddha nature, is always there, and that it can express itself in a pure way as the Sambhogakaya, And if we learn to see the impure things in a pure way, we will see them as luminous and colors and all sorts of things. But most of us won't be able to do that. But the Nirmanakaya, we can go out and be everything, which means that even at work, it's your role to be aware. It's your role to see whoever's miserable, whoever needs something, whoever's in a particular... You can't go into your office and just put your head down and just do your work as though you were one person on an island. That's what being Guru Rinpoche is. And when you actually experience the mandala of Guru Rinpoche, you realize that everything is just there at the right appointed time. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. So it's a really, really very interesting, and I want to give you James Lowe's beautiful teaching on all of this, because he gives it so beautifully using Vajrayana and how we can take the tantric practice and put this into practice. Because most of us sit down, let's say we are quite devoted, and let's say we sit down and we do Chenrezi, or we do Guru Rinpoche, or we do the Guru Yoga, or we do the Nondra, or whatever we actually do in the morning. And then we get up, leave that role behind, and then go into another role, another identity for the day. And that's what Guru Rinpoche demonstrates, is the exact opposite of what we should be doing. Doesn't really matter how long you spend on the practice, as long as you can see yourself in that role where the essence takes over and you have that pure identity, no matter what role you are in. And that's what my green box showed me, but I hadn't realized it until much later years. So let's do a little meditation, and I'm going to take you into your identities, and then I'm going to whoops you out of them. So get into a beautiful meditative posture. And just as James Lowe says, hang easy, hang easy. Just let everything come up. Breathe in, breathe out. Don't get entangled. Don't grasp. Just allow everything to be. Every time your mind gets entangled in thinking about something or pursuing something or grasping something, bring the mind back to the breath. Just chill. Don't make a big fetish of this meditation. Just be joyful and light. That's what Lame Yeshe was saying. Let your mind be light, no matter what you are doing. Joyous, easy. Now I want you to go back just a little bit to your 5 senses. And I want you to go to your house of origin, wherever it was, however short a time you were there. And we're going to look at smell. Was there a particular odor when you entered your house of origin? Recall the smell and the feeling it invokes in you. Beautiful, happy, fearful, ugly, awful. Just smell your house of origin. And meditate for 1 moment on a scent from your house of origin. Now taste. Think back on a special food that was eaten in your house. Maybe daily, maybe on special occasions. And remember the taste of that food? What memories does it invoke? Pleasant or unpleasant? Do you still make this food? Does it taste like it did when you got it in your house of origin or wherever you lived? Now touch. Think back on the sensation of touch as you were growing up. Was there a special way that your mother touched you? Did she not touch you a lot? Was there a special way your father touched you? Did he not touch you a lot? Was there a special way anyone else in your family touched you? Uncles, aunts, sisters, brothers? Does it elicit pleasant or unpleasant memories for you? Now sound. Was your house a noisy house? A quiet house? Too quiet? Too tranquil? Were you allowed to make a noise? Were you allowed to express and scream? Was there a special type of music playing often in your house? Did the radio or TV feature strongly? Think about the sounds in your house and evoke memories, happy or unhappy. And finally, your sight. As you walked into your house, what did you see? What caught your gaze? Special artifacts, possessions, furnishings, paintings, a garden view, a favorite spot? What memory does this evoke? Sad, joyous? Now, we've just gone through the senses of you as a child. And I want you to see that whole childhood, I want you to look how much you've carried that identity into the present time. How rigid are you? How much of what you learned there about yourself is what you believe about yourself? I want you to see how our assumptions, our histories, our karmic imprints influence how much we see ourselves, how we carry through what was in our childhood, and how temporary this all is. When you think about your parents or your childhood or unhappy or happy childhoods, it's all gone. It's all just a temporary, transient, momentary identity. Breathe it out. Take from it what you want, but don't grasp. Grasping is what ties us down. Take it and into your big alchemy pot, take the things you want, but mix in the Buddha nature. Mix in that essence of who you really are. And feel as though the balloons that you hold in your hands from all of your childhood, from all of your identities, the things you hang on to, they're like balloons. Let them go from your fingers watch them as they rise up into the sky in all their different colors. And know that you're not tied or attached to any. You can use whatever you want from them, but you are free. You are spacious. You are open and panoramic. And those are just the little karmic imprints that brought you into this incarnation, and that will all be left behind. Don't attach too much importance to them. And don't allow them to really be who you are now. It's interesting, especially if you had unhappy childhoods, because then it's really interesting to see what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep, and to maybe really, really, really go into a different state. Because James Lowe says, anxiety comes from trying to organize our worlds and control them in order to be safe. He says in tantric practice, we need the opposite, the total relaxation and returning to our true self. Padmasambhava has one central identity. And the most important thing about his central identity is that it does not self-limit. It doesn't self-limit. And he says, we can go into an identity to be fully, and then out of it and into the next identity. He says, but we have to have that core identity and come back to it. He says, just experience the situation that you're in, see that it is a drama, and come back to the core identity, which is so important. Now, a lot of people, if you look at borderline personality disorder that many people suffer from, it's really a very interesting thing, because borderline personality disorder is when you can't deal with what's going on. So a part of you splits off and people can't understand you. So when people have got that, they really have a hard time, because they can't deal with the pluralistic identities that we've all got, or roles that we've all got. So it's really, really a very interesting thing. And what he says about it is, because I'll tell you right now, sorry. What he says is that all of us have sub-personalities or self-states or divergent tendencies which manifest in different situations. And he says, in the area of psychiatry or psychotherapy, there's more and more sense that many people manifest what is called a borderline state. Borderline means somebody who's finding it really difficult to maintain a unitary kind of presentation in the world. Generally, we could say of ourselves, speaking, oh, sometimes I'm very sad, sometimes I'm very angry, sometimes I'm very sweet. But if our central sense of who we really are, our core self, is not strong, then we can't manage all the different roles, and then we get anxious, and then sometimes some of those roles split off, and then we get diagnosed and get onto medication, and then we're aggressive. And it's really important to understand this before I give you any of these tantric teachings that go on for it. So does anyone want to ask anything or say anything? Please do, because it's important. I don't want to go on to anything. It's late now. I want to give you his beautiful teaching that he does. He has a wonderful book, and in it, he really gives so many talks on Buddha shows the way, and he really helps us to understand how to learn to get that core identity. Could you please spell? Yeah, it's just L-O-W, James, L-O-W, simple, low. And that's his name. And you'll find also he's got a lot of YouTube on. He's really, really, really good, because he had this wonderful guru called C.R. Lama, and he lived with him for quite a long time. So he's really lived in the presence of Vajrayana teaching and things, and it really is amazing what he's got to say. I like him because he's modern, and he's got the psychology, and he's got everything in him. So I've learned a lot from him, you know. So anybody want to ask or say? It's been quite a long evening. I think I'm not going to start this new stuff. We can go on with it. Eckhard, darling Eckhard, who's not been well, we really wish you well. Do you want to say anything, Eckhard? I'm even surprised you're awake at this time of the night after your illness and everything. Anybody?
Mel, I just want to say that to thank you for sharing your experience with us, with reading all those letters. That must have been quite something. And just an amazing teaching, and what it taught you and what it can teach us. And also that meditation we did now, it was like, I haven't thought about my home for so long that I forgot that there was one.
Okay, you
Where did I live? Oh, I had parents. Oh, I had a family. It was like I completely forgot. I haven't thought about that for so long that I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was a part of my life, you know.
But
I
did
mean,
you find things from that you do today?
yes, there's you know, like the people pleasing, or the feeling like I need to run around, and especially in my job, and you know, yes.
Because it's such an interesting thing. I always tell my favorite story of the nachi, you know, that my mother always said, don't eat a nachi in the bedroom, because, and I used to go, why? And she said, because it makes the whole bedroom smell. So one day, you know, my husband was eating a nachi in the room. So I said to him, don't eat a nachi in the bedroom. So he turned around and said to me, why not? And I said, because it makes the whole room smell. And he goes, but don't you like the smell of nachos? I said, I do like the smell of nachos. He said, then why can't I eat it here? I said, you can. It was what my mother taught me. Now that's a silly little example which can make you laugh, okay? But the bottom line is, do you know how many things our mothers taught us that often we land up doing without thinking that our karmic imprints actually brought us into that family so that we could resolve that. So how many things do we do that our parents told us that we don't even really want to do? We don't really feel it, and we don't really want to do it. And this is so important, because your awareness has to wake you up to understand this and to see that we are so much more than it. It's really very important. Oh, David, I'm happy to see you. You must have something to say, David. Let's hear from you. You've got a lot to say. I didn't see you because you were on the other page. Come on, David. I want to hear what you think of all of this. And you, Eugene, you're so quiet. Ruth? any of you, I don't want to start this whole new section because I think it's too much. I think we can all go to bed soon. Anything you guys want to say? Vera, you're also very quiet.
Mel,
Yes, please.
you know, it always says, I'm part hippie, part monk. And I don't know which one of the two I am.
Now,
There
you
might
know,
be
you know, it's so interesting because James Lowe talks about the monks in the monastery. And he says, some of them are monks, some of them are yogis, some of them are devoted to the teaching, some of them are devoted to doing all the things in the monastery and everything. You know what? Isn't that wonderful? To be a monk and a hippie. That means, you know, that means.
I love it.
Yeah, so do I. And now we must give you a new name.
Freedom. Oh, oh yeah. Not like sunshine somebody, you know? Sunshine, starlight.
Yeah, it's so beautiful because the thing is, it's actually the disciplines of the monk and the absolute lack of discipline of the hippie. And I mean, both of them, when you need the lack of discipline of the hippie, so you're in that audience and you do it. And when you need to be serious in your practice, the monk takes its role. And if everybody could identify like you have to those roles, it's absolutely amazing. Because how many times in our lives do we find people that make assumptions about us which aren't who you are? My children make so many assumptions about me, about who they think I am, and maybe that is who I was, but I'm not that anymore. I've changed. I've changed roles, you know. And so it's a very interesting thing because people who know you want to keep you like that. It's
Children I've found. My children are very much trying to hold on to what they want me, what they would like me to be, for them to feel comfortable.
Yes.
They find my long hair, my beard, and my love for rock music and my meditation so freaky that they can't relate. They just can't.
I love it. But you know what? Sometimes you can do what they need you to do. Because if I look at Guru Rinpoche often will be doing the things that he thinks people need him to do, but not because he's doing them. He's doing them because that's the best way they can learn out of what he's doing.
Like so being a responsible grandfather.
Being a responsible grandfather is important, but also Guru Rinpoche, I remember reading one of his stories where he became a butcher and he went among butchers and he was also killing animals. I'm sure all the animals that he killed, he just brought back to life when nobody was looking. But the bottom line was that he became a butcher so that he could subdue those butchers and change their minds. Now, if he came in as a monk, they would have just thrown him out. He always came in at the level that people needed. It's absolutely amazing. And so must we. And if this first part of this talk does anything for you, it's like fulfill all your crazy roles, all of you. Do whatever you have to do. Adapt to the circumstances and whatever has to happen. But keep the core of your Buddha nature, of your awakened nature, as the center of whichever way you're actually doing.
Mel, I just have a bit of a question. So I'm with you, you know, like flow with it and be, you know, like just be. But I had a bit of an experience and I'm not really sure I don't know really what to do or to think of it, but there's a German friend who, so like we met, one of the activities for getting the internationals together in terms of orientation was a treasure hunt. So that's how we met. And we've pretty much been friends from there. And like, we're both very free spirited. It's like when we meet up, it's not planned. We just meet up and it's like, oh, hello again, and then off again. But like there were 2 times where we met up and it was like in the group of other people. And the other people were like, wow, you guys have known each other. It's like you've known each other forever, forever, forever. And these are also people who we didn't like know. It's just like we're just in this place together. But it's almost like it's happened 2 or 3 times. So you know, I'm sure there's something about whatever, our karmic connection and past lives and potentially future lives. But I just wonder about those kind of relationships. Like there was a point you made a bit earlier where you were saying, you know, maybe you're in, for example, at work, like there's this one person who needs you and it was their karmic pull that brought you. And so I wonder about like this friendship with this person a bit, like I wonder who we were. But obviously with whoever we are, we've always like known each other, even though our emanations are meeting in a new way. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was a bit of a funny experience, and I don't think it necessarily has a resolution, but yeah, just something interesting about the core and
Wait, it hasn't
lives.
evolved yet, because you've just
Sorry?
mentioned it hasn't evolved yet. Your experience with her hasn't evolved into what it's going to be in all probability. Because somewhere down the line, you and her are going to use that connection for whatever you need to do. You'll see. It hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. But it's amazing because this is what happens all the time with people all over the place. How you just meet somebody out under the strangest circumstances, and they're people you just connect with in a most amazing way. And this is when you're working in the mandala of, for instance, the Lotus family or whatever, that you just connect with all the people you need to. And it's an amazing way. So next week, what we will do is I'm going to give you these teachings that James Lowe has given, because there's some really very, very good ones. And bring your questions and bring your stuff, and let's really go forward with the subject, because I think it's a really important subject. And I think my green box was there to teach me how important the subject is, because it really taught me so much. And it was wonderful. It really, really was, because I could just, you know, really ponder. When you ponder your life, it's so amazing. Sometimes you need to bring more joy into your life. That's what Lame Yeshe says all the time. And then you might meet somebody who makes you joyful, and that's absolutely wonderful. They're there. Or you might meet somebody who calms you down. You might meet people for different reasons. It's an amazing interconnection. So let's dedicate for our darling Rob, for Lame Yeshe to really have a long life, to all those who are really suffering in Libya, in Morocco, in the earthquakes, in the floods, in Cape Town, in the floods. We dedicate all these teachings to say to all of them, this is just a temporary, transient drama, and soon it will all be over. And through this merit, may we achieve all-seeing Buddhahood, and thereafter, once all harmful enemies have been defeated, may all beings be liberated from the ocean of existence, stirred by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. And Rob, may you be totally liberated into the light. Sonam die tamche zipane topne nepe dranam pamshene jegana chibala tropaye sipe sole doa do warsho.